Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Thank you very much, and thank you all very much for being here. It's great to see so many people here. Thank you very much to our panelists for taking the time out to join us. It's very important and welcome. I have a few questions to get us started, and as Oscar said, if you can also submit your questions, and then we can take the conversation in direction that's appropriate for the audience. But maybe Dr. Kadiri, thank you so much for your keynote. It was great and found it really interesting. One of the things that we've noticed in school when we've been looking at this is that the research seems to suggest there's been a great upsurge in mental health issues, emotional wellness issues with young people and with school-aged children, which is very important to us. Do you know any reasons why this is happening and what may be causing this, and anything we can do to help? Thank you.
Great question. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Like I said earlier on, half of most mental illnesses start before the age of 14 and two-thirds before the age of 24, 25. So this is what has been known. But of course, what we are trying to narrow down is what are the reasons, what are the causes. Coming from a home where there's no unity, dysfunctional family setting, and you can see there's so much high rate of divorce these days, one thing or the other happening, or people are even cohabiting, but the children get to bear the brunt of what the parents are going through. They won't come out and tell this is what is happening, but they tend to internalize these problems, and schools get to have the repercussions. So in school, they just unbottle what is happening to them. At home, they withdraw back into their shells. Then one of the other causes, again, we're saying is death of a parent or both parents. Of course, that means the child automatically will be brought up by somebody else. So, but of course, that one is not, that is a given, because the death of a parent is not like the child decided. But one very important way we should look at why we are having upsurge now is the social media, the technology. There's so much peer pressure, there's so much competition to succeed, to excel. Nigerian youth will use the word, I want to blow. What have you done that you want to blow? Are you an atomic bomb? What are you blowing? Where are you blowing to? So, and that delayed gratification that is not there. There's no single reason why you have to work hard to achieve a particular goal. As far as, oh, let me just get it done and I'll get the money. So those little things, and because the pressure that is coming from every angle, the parents, they want to live what they didn't have in their children by pushing them to, achieve success so fast. Then of course from their friends and all that, and of the competitive nature that is happening. Then the drug abuse that is happening. It goes either way, drug addiction, mental illness, or mental illness, drug addiction. Either way. Because some children that are shy, they are not able to express themselves, they can easily look for what to use to get themselves to be able to discuss. And drug is one thing that they just want to experiment with, but they will not know that, look, you start, but you must know where to draw the line. So drug abuse, the pressure, the social media, the technology age, and some certain things they've been given, domestic violence, being abused as a child sexually, death of a parent and all that. And of course your parenting style too can also affect the upbringing of the child.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kadri. I would want to start with this question to Dr. Ibigbami. Okay, let's properly define the subject at hand. When we talk about mental illness, is it a disorder? Is it an illness? Is it demonic possession? People have so many funny beliefs when we talk about mental illness, especially in children. Could you just shed some light on the subject of mental disorder in children? What exactly is it?
Thank you very much, Dr. Alex. Well, I have a point of view which I normally like sharing with people. Mental illness is, we seem to have visual stereotypes about what mental illness is with regards to what the person who has an illness should look like. And it makes us to miss out what exactly mental illness is, particularly in children. Because the way, like Dr. Kadri rightly alluded to, children tend to present differently from adults when they have a mental illness. We look at the aspect of the optimal psychological development and functioning of the child to determine if there is a problem which could be interpreted as a mental illness. So if you are looking at functioning, it will help you to be able to identify early enough that there is the likelihood that someone has a mental illness, or probably the person is already preparing to have a mental illness. The other aspect that you should also look at is, does the child or the young person have a harmonious and mutually acceptable relationship with other people around? That's where you'll be able to identify individuals that are already going out of line. And it makes it imperative that parents need to be close to their children. I'm happy that Dr. Kadiri actually talked about the aspect of parenting and the role of a family with regards to preventing mental illness, or being able to identify mental illness early enough. This year, the World Family Day actually looked at the issue of social inclusiveness, and that brings us to come to understand that even within the society, if there is anything that is making there to be a disintegration of the society, it pushes some people to the extremes of behavior that one could interpret as mental illness. So how do we look at it within the school environment? If you have a child that the grades are dropping, if you have a child that is not performing as previously as the child is performing, and you find out that not even just in the grades. For instance, a child that had been outgoing, had a lot of friends, relating well in school, and doing a lot of sporting activities, and at the end of the day you find out that the child is not performing all these things. There has to be a way in which the school has an inclusive system that will bring such a child in, and you'll be able to assess the child and find out what exactly is making the child to have the problem. For instance, there are a lot of schools that even set high threshold for, they tend to put a lot of expectations on the young child, and you find that many of these children, when they fall short of the standard within the school, it makes them to have they feel separated from what the whole inclusive society within the school setting is supposed to be. And gradually you find out that such children will begin to have depression or anxiety about their performance, which eventually one could interpret to be mental illness or a precursor to a full-blown mental illness.
Thank you. I think you raised some great points. Mrs. Coker, as a life coach, I'm going to come to you to look for some advice and guidance maybe. A lot of us in the hall, many of us are parents, many of us involved in schools, and also we guide children. What are the sorts of things that we can do that can support mental stability and the ability for children, teenagers to cope with the pressures of life as it is at the moment?
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. As a life coach, one of the things I keep saying to people is that there are many people who are coaches or function as coaches without realizing it. So a lot of us anyone that's a leader in any setting in life really is a coach. The parents are primary coaches because they're the key influencers in the lives of the children. The teachers, if they begin to see themselves as coaches, then they'll begin to adjust and amend the way that we do the teaching process to take advantage of the learning styles of each child and develop them to the best that they can be. The fundamental belief we must all have as coaches, as teachers, as community leaders is that every child is valuable. Every child has a capacity for excellence. It just depends on a lot of things. And some of those things, a lot of them have been mentioned, but some of them that are important to me that I always insist on is the belief and the paradigm that you, the parent, have about your child, as well as what you instill in them. When children are born, they're basically a blank slate, and you have the opportunity to write on them. When we are all born good. We are all born clean of any paradigms, any stereotypes, any prejudices. Have you seen a young child in front of a restaurant, a little infant reaching out to a beggar that is filthy and dirty, and the mother is like, no, you're going to get a disease. Immediately we are writing paradigms into those children's heads. We're telling them anyone that is not visually looking in a particular way is not the kind of person you should associate with.
I think as parents we should realize that what we put into our children from the ages of 0 to 5 is so critical to their development, because by the time they go past the age of 5, there are some challenges that children will face. The schools help us recognize simple things like dyslexia, dyspraxia. By the age of 3, if a child is not reading properly, you know that there's a challenge there. But there's so many things that come out as a result of dyslexia, dyspraxia, and possibly ADHD that we tend to ignore because we're just saying, oh, it's a child, or it doesn't matter. The truth of it is that with dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD sometimes leads to conduct disorder, which happens until the age of 17, and from that point on, it now becomes personality disorder. Now, the personality disorders are not easily treatable or easily diagnosed in our own environment. In our environment, the only times or the most common times you'll find out about personality disorders is when the child is already in jail or has done something terrible to someone else or to themselves. A lot of parents are aware of children that are cutting. A lot of other students, young children, are aware of their friends that are cutting. Cutting is a very big sign in our environment that something is going wrong. However, we all as caregivers must recognize the fact that the social digital age is here and is here to stay. The easiest way to put somebody into a trance is to put him in front of, may I borrow your phone for a second? Put him in front of one of those screens. We don't realize it. Even we ourselves go into trances within 2 seconds. We've gone into a trance because what is the meaning of a trance? You're no longer aware of your environment. You've seen people fall into ditches because they're texting on their phone. People have had accidents because they're posting on Facebook. How can we teach these children to be able to take advantage of the good aspects of the digital age while, removing from them the negative aspects of it? The difference between a coach and a trainer is that a trainer will stand in front of a room and say, this is how to do it. A coach will put your bottom on a bicycle. So imagine trying to teach somebody, ride a bicycle by finding your center of equilibrium. Go 90 degrees to the left when you want to turn and 90 degrees to the right. Nobody's going to learn how to ride a bicycle that way. A coach puts your bottom on the bike, holds the seat with you, holds the handle in front of you, and guides you as you begin to ride. That is our role as parents. That is our role as teachers. And that is the role of a life coach. At some point, the child becomes consciously confident to the point where he gets on the bike and begins to ride. And that is your point of success. As a teacher or a parent or even a coach, the point where you know you have succeeded is when the child is subconsciously doing the right thing and making right choices on a consistent basis. We need to talk to our children. We need to talk to our wards. We need to listen to them. We need to listen twice as much as we talk. That's why God gave us 2 ears and just 1 mouth. A lot of us have a lot of opinion about different things, but the differences in the way they see the world does not make our children bad. And parents need to recognize that our parenting space has been eroded by this new digital age, by this thing called Google. It's a fantastic thing, but the previously authoritarian style of parenting that we used to have in the old days, that would say, this is it, take it or leave it. Now when your child asks you about the birds and the bees, that you would say, oh, by the age of 18 is when I'm going to discuss it with my child. You are deciding as a parent. Or you're saying, oh, I'm going to discuss it at the age of 13 because that's what the schools are telling us. The truth is, by 8, these kids know how to swipe and Google and think more than you do. So the time when you were the source of information and fact, you were the only way the child learned about life, that time is over. So we are not competing with the digital age. What we should do is embrace the digital age and harness its goodness into shaping the lives of today's children. Gone are the days of go to your room. That's not safe. Go to your room used to be that my child is fine because he's in the room, he can't get anywhere. He could be in Australia once he's already on this phone or any device. And trust me, they know how to use these things better than you do. So get involved in what they're learning, what they're using. I learned about strange apps that I never heard about when I went for a coaching program in Florida. And some guy, an adult, brought someone to dinner and the other person who is a millennial, was saying, oh, he got him or he got her on Tinder. Why do you take her to dinner? I said, what's wrong with people that you get on Tinder? Well, you guys need to find out. I found out that, there's some different places that they meet, different apps that they use to go out to parties, go out on dates, and there are some dates that they want to be serious and the dates they don't want to be serious. My youngest child is 22 years old, so I don't have teenagers anymore. And I thank God for that. Because when my kids turn 13, we have a conversation, and I say to them, listen, you are 13 years old today, and you probably think you know everything and that I know nothing. But trust me on this. I've taken all the decisions concerning your life so far, and we haven't done too badly. You don't have no broken legs, you have no disabilities, so you're fine. I know that from now till you turn 19, you're going to think that I'm an alien and I don't like you. But trust me, everything I do, no matter how far away from your line of thought the things I do are, is because I love you. And I need you to know that I will always love you. This love is conditional and cannot be broken. So no matter what you do outside, if there's one person on earth that you can tell the truth, please tell me. Because I will always be on your side. We are on the same team.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Cooker. Thank you. All right, before we delve deeper, I still want to remain with the psychiatrist. I have this question I want to ask. Yes, we have said quite a lot about parents, we've said a little about teachers, said a little about digital age, and I just want to ask, are there other factors that contribute to these problems in children? Are there medical explanations? Are there genetic factors? Are there environmental factors? We have a lot of internally displaced children in the country today. Even a child in your living room watching these other children on TV, do these things all come together to impact on the mental health status of? And I'd like to direct this question to Dr. Kadri.
Right. It's multifactorial. So for the fact that somebody has a mental illness, most times it's not just one factor. It's usually a combination of factors. So some people have mental illness and they're asking themselves reason why should it be me having a mental illness. It may just be that you are predisposed, meaning there's a family history, meaning there's a genetic predisposition that you have, maybe dad, mom. So most times when we have hypertension or asthma or diabetes, you go to the hospital, they are likely going to ask you, any physician, is there any family history of this? But when it comes to mental illness, it's like, no, I bind it, I cast it back to sender, it's not my passion. That's what we do here oftentimes. But there is a family genetic predisposition or a family history that cuts across most medical conditions, mental illness also inclusive. So genetic, which is family history, is there. And of course, like I said earlier on during my keynote speech, coming from a broken home, coming from a home where there's domestic violence, coming from a home where there's dysfunctional family setting, coming from a home where there's what we call in psychiatry schizophrenia, there's what we call schism, whereby both parents don't agree. Father is saying go, go, mother is saying come, come. So there's that disconnect. So you see some children become manipulative at a very young age. When they want to watch TV, they know that it's daddy, they will go and meet. When they want to eat certain food, they know it's mommy, they will go and meet. Those are some of the things we should also be watching out for. And for us as parents, we should speak one voice when you are with your children. Don't talk down on your wife or don't scream on your husband when the children are there. They are going to grow up wired that way, thinking that that is known. Likewise, children that come from this home where there's domestic violence, most likely the boys will grow up as men that are abusers, while the girls will grow up as ladies as abusee. Because the fact that they've watched father always beating mom, they will take that role, whether father or mother. And of course, for us that are here that have boys, mothers, who are those of us that have boys? I've got to. Please, if you ever be doing this, drop it today. Let your boys cry. They are humans. let them cry, let them express their emotions, let them feel that, look, if anything is happening to me emotionally, I can express it. Because the moment you start telling them boys don't cry, they will grow up wired that way as men, and when they have challenges, they bottle up because they are hearing the voice of the mom and dad saying, why are you crying? Men don't cry. And then you are wondering why suicide is higher in men than in girls, in women, because when the men want to die, they want to die manly. Yeah, they don't want to die like somebody of weak character, somebody that doesn't know what he or she's doing. To them, look, I want to know, I'm tired of life. They jump, they take a limb, or they hang themselves. So a lot of things apart from family, environmental factors come in. The peer pressure, the habit of trying to experiment with drugs because they want to belong to a clique, they want to belong to a group, they want to belong to that cliche. And the problem we have with experimenting to fit in the use of drug is that you can begin to start using that drug and then become a regular user and then become an addiction. So you don't know when they will cross that line, because it's very easy to say, look, I will stop when I want to stop. But sadly, that is not the case when it comes to drug abuse. It's very easy to start with a puff of cigarette, 2 puffs, half a stick, 2 sticks, a pack. Then you find out that cigarette is no longer doing that magic you want it to do. You move to marijuana, from marijuana to cocaine, cocaine to codeine, codeine to mixture. Some don't even have names. Some don't have names. And like I said, of course, the parenting starts superimposing all of this, because if the child is personality too, is a shy child and he wants to get out of that shy state, you as a parent, a teacher, a coach, or somebody helping that child to improve his self-worth, self-esteem, and self-confidence is very key. Because if they go into risky behaviors like drug abuse, of course, we know that can lead to drug addiction. So there's so many combinations from both family predisposing, precipitating, which are both from the family and environmental factors that combine.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mrs. Thomas, you've spent a long time in schools across Lagos, and you're with us now at Olashore, talking with young people and young children. Maybe you could just share with us some of the pressures and the challenges that children are talking about and that they're having to face.
Very much, Mr. Smith. In schools these days, when we are talking about mental wellness in school environments, you see some students feeling so bad, not performing well in the academics, not relating well with other students. Sometimes you think maybe the child just wants to do that, but sometimes it's not that way. I've seen a lot of students that will come to me and say, Mrs. Thomas, look at me. I think I don't have any life. Why? Recently, I have a student that came to me and said that my parents don't understand me. When it is time for me to go home, I feel so bad. Why? For example, the child wants to write JAMB, and the parents will be calling from home. 200 is not a mark in this family. And we know the average, the level that child is. And we are sending that information. The child has not done the exam. How do you want that child to perform well? We have students that will come to us and say that, see, my parents are comparing me with my sister in nursery school. Recently, I have a student that was depressed. Sometimes when you have some of them talking and you discover that this week maybe they don't talk, they don't come to you, they don't relate well in the class, we move up to them. I have one recently. The grandfather died at home, and a child is in school. They don't wait for the child to come back home. They call the child, and the child did not open up to tell anybody. He was just depressed. He cannot do anything in the classroom. So when I referred the boy to the clinic, the child told me, the child now came back and said that what is wrong with me is not about paracetamol or taking malaria drug. I have a grandfather that was so close to, and he died, and they told me for weeks. So when we started talking to the boy, that was when the boy came out of the trouble. Parents, we should look at things that we do. Like doctor said,
Parenting. What type of parenting system are you using? If you know that the one you are using is not working for you, find out information on what to do. We have a lot of things on, we have internet that is useful to so many things that things people are working on internet. But we have things that we can learn on internet. We have so many courses we can do to educate ourselves more as parents, as family. I have another example of a student. This girl is very, very brilliant, but she doesn't talk to anybody apart from reading. When I started with her, she told me, I've never told anybody this in my life. That when she was in primary 4, that the grandfather, she came 14th in the class, 14th position, and the grandfather came and said, 14th position, you play too much, you do this one too much, you cannot continue this way. And he said that was what he remembered last. Since then, she doesn't talk to people again. The only thing she can do is to be reading. We have to be careful of how we expose so that we can have good mental health around school and the children will perform better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Thomas. That was real. Okay, barrister Mrs. Ogedimbe. You are a barrister, an accountant, an accomplished professional, and from the few conversations we had, I'm sure a great mother too. You're also here as a parent of a child living with mental illness. Yeah, so in a short, briefly, could you tell us how the journey has been so far, the early days, the diagnosis, how it has been up to this point?
Thank you, Dr. Alex. Really is a journey that it has no definite route. It is a situational approach. As it comes, you undo it. My daughter is there with me. Stand up for recognition. Yes. Like doctor has said, parenting is very, very important. Know your child, their behavior. She happens to be a very quiet girl. She reads a lot. If you see her, she's always with her novel. She can read everything, anything. But at the time, I observed that she was on the hyper level. What could have happened? Though a friend came to her, they were together, but still, I observed that this is not the type of daughter I have. But sometimes she will withdraw. I became somehow worried. Because my very self, I've had issue of depression. So I can relate with somebody who is having low moments. But as at that time, I never knew anything called bipolar. So I just said, okay, let me try and know her. I Googled. Went to her page. I read so many things about her, which she never told me. Talking about she's tired with life, she won't commit, talking about suicidal things, talking about this. I now called her Dollar, what exactly is the problem? She said she's just fed up, she's tired. Tired of doing what? From there, we went to a psychiatrist doctor. And I told him the much I knew. Then she was placed on medication. And that actually affected her studies at school. Because she became withdrawn in school. We had to change from one course to the other. But in all, you have to be a friend to your children. Know when that child is happy. Know when the child is unhappy and what could have caused the unhappiness. If you can break those things down into bits and pieces, then solution is very nearby. And another thing is that I had to come down to her level, make her my friend. Whatever is your problem, like Madam said, please don't feel ashamed. Tell me, we are in it together. There is nobody else that can love you the way I love you. If you have any problem, tell me. The one I know I can solve immediately, I will tell you the solution. The one I don't have solution, I will say, just give me some time, I will get back to it. And because of that, she started to open up more and more. Because even with medication, child needs love at home for the medication to work well. Because if you are taking drugs,